Hello, thank you for joining me here again for another lesson in Sage X3. In today's lecture, we're going to be taking a look at the concept of automatic journals, which are the objects in the system that are responsible for generating the bookkeeping associated with all your transactions that are generated in your sales, purchasing, manufacturing, inventory control, and fixed asset submodules. Okay, so the specific example that we're going to be looking at today is the miscellaneous issue transaction and how the miscellaneous issue automatic journal can be fine-tuned to meet the specific bookkeeping needs of the finance department. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to seek to model three different transaction types within the miscellaneous issue. Okay, so we're going to take a look at miscellaneous issues for removing inventory that is scrapped, a miscellaneous issue for removing inventory that the sales team takes for samples to provide to prospects, and we're also going to take a look at miscellaneous issues done for the purpose of research and development. Okay, so as you're going to see here, we're going to set up special stock movement codes, and we're going to fine-tune the auto journal so depending upon the transaction type, the scrap, samples, or R&D that the user chooses, a different expense account is going to get charged when we perform the miscellaneous issue. Okay, so starting off here in step one of our setup, we need to go to miscellaneous table number 9. So here under the development menu, we're going to come under data and parameters, miscellaneous tables, then over here to data. So in here is our miscellaneous table number 9 for the different categories of stock movement groups. So in this particular example, I established 3 new groups in here. One for research and development, one for sales samples, and one for scrap. Okay, so to add a new entry into this miscellaneous table, it's a real easy exercise. All you need to do is click in the code field. Okay, you can go ahead and give it a description. Okay, and a short description. Then you come over and save. Okay, so that's all you need to do to establish new options within your miscellaneous table. But be sure to keep in mind these 3 codes, the RSCH, SAMP, and SCR, because we're going to reference these later on when we're setting up our automatic journal. Okay, so that's step 1. Now, step number 2 is going to require for us to update a local menu in the system. And this is going to be local menu 853 that is used in the context of our accounting codes. Okay, so under development, once again, we're going to go to data and parameters, tables, then to this option here for local menus. Okay, so in here we're going to pull up local menu 853, which is the text of the accounting code lines. And being that we're adding some, customized values to this local menu, what we're going to do in here is we're going to choose our customizations activity code so that in the event that we apply patches to the system and the patches seek to update this local menu, it's not going to override our new options that we set in there. Okay. So in here, we're going to come down into the grid section here, the list. Then we're going to scroll all the way to the end. So in here, you can see we added in 3 new options in here. Again, for scrap, sales samples, and R&D. Okay, so again, for this one, it's just a matter of clicking in the next available line, coming in, putting in your text that you want to show up on your accounting code, then coming over here and clicking on Save. Okay, so those are, again, for this example, are 3 options that we're using. Okay, so now step 3 in the setup is we're going to go to the accounting code lines function and add these new values in. So under setup, we're going to come down to financials, then over to accounting interface and accounting code lines. So what we want to do is to come over to our left list and click on the product accounting code type. And then in here, we're going to go ahead and scroll down all the way to the bottom again and add in those 3 new values that we just populated in local menu 853. Okay, so to add that in, it was as easy as coming in here, clicking in the next available line, choosing modifier, then coming over to this adjacent lookup field. Then you scroll all the way to the bottom where you added in your new values and you click on it in here, and that will serve to add it into the grid here for you. Then in your mandatory column, you can go ahead and set that to no. Okay, so do that exercise for the 3 new lines that you put in. All right, so now that the accounting code lines are all set up, now we can go about and map in our product accounting code values. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and close page here and go to Setup, down to Financials, over to Accounting Interface, and then to Accounting Codes. I'm going to choose, in my case, I'm going to choose my ENG for the American accounts. All right. Then over here in the left list, what you want to do is click on the caret to the left of the product accounting code type. Then I'm going to come down to my finished goods product here, my finished good product accounting code. Okay, so now what we should see in here is, being that we had the accounting code lines updated, when I look at my product accounting codes, now I have the availability to define in here the expense accounts that I wish to have charged in the context of scrapping inventory through a miscellaneous issue, my expense account that I want to have charged when a miscellaneous issue is performed for sale samples, and then the final expense account to be charged when the miscellaneous issue is done for the purpose of R&D. Okay, so in your system, what you want to make sure you do is basically any product accounting code that you have that's for a stock managed item, finished goods, raw materials, semi-finished goods, and so forth. You're going to want to make sure that you set up these 3 lines on all those accounting codes. Okay, great. So next, in our final part of the setup, is to actually update our automatic journal. So to do that, if we come under the setup, then go down to stock, entry transactions, then to miscellaneous issues. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and click on my all entry transaction. Then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down until I come to my field for automatic journal. Okay, so the automatic journal responsible for the posting of the miscellaneous issue is going to be this STKIS. So I'm going to go ahead and do a jump to there, and that'll tunnel me over to my automatic journal. Then I'm going to click on my lines button. All right, and this brings me into my automatic journal lines. All right, so now in the context of installations that we do here in the United States, Typically, it's only line number 1 and line number 3 that are going to be of consequence to us on a miscellaneous issue. The line item 1 is the line when the posting occurs that's going to serve to credit the respective inventory account. So if you're miscellaneous issuing a finished good, it will credit your finished good inventory account. Then line number 3 is the offset to that. So this line here governs where the debit is going to go. Okay, so now what we have here in terms of the debit for the expense, we want it to be variable depending upon if it's a scrap miscellaneous issue, a samples issue, or an R&D issue. Okay, so down here in the accounting codes section on my line 3, I have 3 different lines in here. Okay, so here I'm referring to my product accounting code type. Then on this first line, I'm referring to, if I click in this lookup icon here, this will show me all my lines in my product accounting code. I can scroll all the way down to the bottom where I added in my 3 new values. I'll go ahead and click on scrap. My identification key is going to be the same in all 3 instances. This first part here is a table reference to the stock journal table. Then the ITM is a reference to the product. Okay. Then the final part here is my condition. Okay. So the way that this reads, again, this F:(STJ) is a reference to the stock journal table where all our inventory movements are written to. Then this TRS FAM is the field reference in that table, which is the transaction group that we're going to specify on the miscellaneous issue to designate if it's scrap, samples, or research and development. Okay, so you can see here on this first line, I say, okay, if the transaction group is this SCR value, which is the scrap value that I set up in miscellaneous table 9, go ahead and reference the expense account defined on line 74 of the respective product accounting code. Okay, the same principle holds true for the second line in here for samples. If when performing the miscellaneous issue, the user specifies the transaction group of SAMP for samples, go ahead and reference the expense account specified on line 75 of the respective product accounting code. And the same thing down here, finally, for research and development. Okay, so that's really all there is to the setup here. So now let's take a look at an example of how, when we do a miscellaneous issue, how we classify the transaction group and how that all flows through to the general ledger. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. And back here, I'm going to go on my mega menu to my stock, receipt issue transactions, miscellaneous issues. Choose my all stock issue full entry. I'm going to do my new button. Specify my site. Now here in the transaction group field here, this is where you designate the type of miscellaneous issue. Okay, so in here I see my 3 values that I set up. So in this case, let's go ahead and do the sales samples one. Specify the product that I want to issue out. Specify the quantity. Choose my lot. Save it and create. Okay, so now to generate the bookkeeping for that movement, I'm going to come to my stock menu, come down to my periodic processing, then over to this option here for account interface. So this accounting interface here is basically the function in the system that's responsible for posting any type of inventory movement that you've conducted. So in this case, the miscellaneous issue, but this would also post miscellaneous receipts, deliveries, purchase receipts, counts, inventory value adjustments. Those are all booked through this stock accounting interface. All right, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on OK. That'll run through the process, giving me a log of the journal entry that was generated. Then now I can come over to my journal entries function and look at it. So now financials, journals, journal entry. Okay, so here's my journal entry for my movement. It's my miscellaneous issue. There's my miscellaneous issue number. Then over here on the lines tab, I have my bookkeeping. Okay, so line 1 is a credit charge to my finished good inventory account of $485.02. Then here on line 2, there's my account for my sales samples that gets the offset. Okay, so that's how you can go about and personalize an automatic journal, again, to help make it a little bit more unique, a little bit more friendly to the accounting department. Saves them a lot of exercising of doing reclass entries at the end of the month. Okay, so again, I hope this video is of use to you. If so, I would ask you to please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions, you can feel free to inbox me.